Hey guys, so the biggest asked question I get regularly is, how much does it cost to go on a motorcycle trip? A bigger motorcycle trip, over 1,000 miles. Well, it's not that expensive actually. It all accordance how you plan and what you do on your trip. So stay tuned and we'll dig into it. All right, guys, let's get into this. So the expenses on a motorcycle trip. There's what I call four different variables. One is your fuel. Second would be your accommodations, where you're going to stay, how you're going to stay. Your third is food. What are you eating? Are you cooking? Are you going out to eat? Are you eating cheap? You eating expensive? And then the fourth I tag as kind of miscellaneous. And that can be anywhere from attractions that you're going to do at your stops, souvenirs, maybe even gas station stops, what you buy in the convenience stores, if you don't want to tag that as your food. But let's just dive right into it. So let's start with the first one, gas. So when it comes to fuel in your motorcycle and how much it's going to cost, obviously there's how many miles you're going to go on your trip, what kind of motorcycle you're taking and its fuel economy, and your riding condition and how you ride your motorcycle. So let's break this down. I've got a Honda Goldwing and I've got an adventure bike. That's a touring off-road adventure bike. Two totally different bikes, two totally different fuel mileages. The Goldwing gets roughly 30 miles to the gallon, give or take. Especially if I'm pulling a trailer, it's about 30 miles to the gallon. The adventure bike, you're looking at 55, 60 miles to the gallon. Sometimes even higher. I've gotten up to 65. Because that comes to the next thing. How do you drive? Well, if you're always in the throttle and you're burning down the highway or cutting hard into the curves, you're going to burn up a lot more fuel than if you're just coasting along steady and easy. Now, I just got off a trip not too long ago, and I went 1,645 miles. Did a big loop from Kentucky through Tennessee, through Mississippi, into Louisiana, cross over to Florida, through Alabama, and then back up out of Alabama, out of Florida, back home. So 1,645 miles. My fuel consumption on that was $140. That's a rounded up number. It was 140 and some odd cents. Now, I had the Goldwing, and I was pulling my motorcycle trailer with me. Number two thing, food. Food actually is the biggest expense for me on most motorcycle trips. And the reason is because I like to eat. And I like to eat pretty good. Now, this last trip I went on was actually a birthday trip. So when I went down into Louisiana, I went over to New Orleans and decided I was going to have a birthday dinner down there, and I wanted some good Cajun seafood. So that meal ran me almost $50. And then when I went over to the coast, over by Pensacola, I don't ever go to the coast without eating good shrimp and crab legs. So you can imagine that bill as well. But my total expenses for 4 days on that trip was around $220 for food. Now that included everything. That included all my food, all my drinks. I didn't cook at all on this trip. Sometimes I cook on motorcycle trips. A lot of times I don't, because I cook so much when I'm out in the truck rig. But that being said, out of that $220, 2 meals equaled about $120 to $130. So you can imagine if I wouldn't have ate at those two big expensive places, which I don't always do that, my food bill probably would have been $150. So how you eat makes a huge difference on how much it's going to cost you out there on the road on your motorcycle. I bring enough kitchen equipment to be able to cook if I want to. I just don't ever seem to have the motivation to do it. Probably because I spend so much time on the bike and I like to really put the miles in that I will, on the average, anywhere between 400 and 450 miles a day. And even more than that, like on the way home, I drove all the way from Pensacola, Florida, all the way home to Kentucky, and it was almost 600 miles. So if you're going to cook, you're going to save a tremendous amount of money. If I had to cook that whole time, I would have probably spent barely $100 on food, if that. Two of my meals were Subway, which I usually eat half the sub, put the other half up, and eat it for another meal. I can do that because I brought my fridge and my power station with me, which I'll show you all that in another video. I'll show you my setup for my motorcycle trailer. And that's the reason why I have a motorcycle trailer, so that I can bring a 12-volt fridge, a power station, and I use a cot tent. And a cot tent goes to the third part of this video. So number 3 is accommodations. I mentioned last time I brought my trailer with the Goldwing and brought my cot tent. I generally like to camp when I'm out on the motorcycle. Not everybody does, and that's fine. But know that camping is probably your cheapest way to stay out on a motorcycle, especially for an extended period of time. Now, I spent 3 nights in the cot tent. One of those nights was actually at a free campground that luckily had flushable toilets, surprisingly. But I was on the Natchez Trace Parkway going through Mississippi, and there's actually 3 state campgrounds right on the parkway, and all 3 of them are free as a first come, first served basis. They have somewhere around 18 camp spots. And because I was there kind of in the middle of the week, middle to end of the week, it was not crowded at all. There was maybe 5 or 6 people. And so my first night, I actually stayed for free. Bonus. Now, if I'd have just planned that trip, going just through the Natchez Trace Parkway and back, I would have stayed at probably all 3 campgrounds, took my time, and accommodations would have cost me nothing. But the next 2 nights, I went ahead and got actual campgrounds. So on day 2, I went to a regular campground. It cost around $45, but I wanted to be able to, 1, take a shower, and 2, I needed electric so I could charge my power pack back up because it had died on me, which I was a little surprised, but it happens. So that was $45, and I stayed at a state park that night in Louisiana. Got there late, so really wasn't there that long. Got up the next morning, took a shower, got back on the road, and went over towards Pensacola area, but I actually stayed in Alabama, right there on the border of Alabama and Florida, and stayed at another campground. I stayed at a KOA. Now, I don't particularly like staying at KOAs, but I wanted a guaranteed place to stay. I didn't know the area very well. I Googled it, and you can pretty much always bet on a KOA in the area you're in. They're pretty much everywhere. Problem is, they're pretty expensive. I think I paid $55 for pretty much the same amenities as a state park. I got a shower again. I had power, but they had a pool, and obviously they're kid friendly. So if you're a family, I get that. I didn't use the pool. Got there, set everything up, shot over to Pensacola for dinner, and then came back, spent the night, got up on the road, and truck back home. But my accommodations roughly cost me about $100, $110. So I didn't think that was too bad for 3 nights. If you'd have stayed at a hotel just one night, you'd have probably been looking at $150 or more. Now, obviously, I could have dispersed camp in some areas probably, especially around Pensacola. Camping is free to disperse camp. But with having the Gold Wing, I didn't want to take a chance of getting out somewhere where it's a little too rough. If I'd have had the adventure bike, I probably would have, but I wouldn't be able to use the cot tent because it wouldn't fit. I'd had to use a regular tent. The cot tent sets up super easy. 2 or 3 minutes, you're good to go. Then number 4, miscellaneous. Really the only miscellaneous I had that I can think of was I did have a parking fee in New Orleans when I had to park in the parking garage. I had to park in the parking garage because I was just too big and bulky with the motorcycle and the trailer to try and park on the street in New Orleans. The roads there are just so tight. There's parking on both sides, and it's just, there was a lot of people. That just wasn't happening. So I went, parked in a parking garage, and walked over towards Bourbon Street and all that. The parking garage was $8. That's it. I never stopped at a gas station and spent any money in a gas station. Nothing like that. I brought my drinks with me because I had the fridge. I brought a few snacks that honestly I really didn't even eat. And snacks that I bring a lot of times, I'll bring some beef jerky. If you're in the market for beef jerky, check out 3 Alarm Overland beef jerky. They are a sponsor of mine, but it's pretty good beef jerky, and it's not the hard beef jerky. It's actual chewy beef jerky that's got a good flavor to it. So, and if you go on their website that I'll put up here, go ahead and get yourself some beef jerky. They have beef sticks and spices. And if you use this discount code right down here, 3alarm10, you'll get 10% off your order. So I think it's a pretty decent deal. They got some pretty good beef jerky, and I like it. But $8, that's all I spent on my miscellaneous. So total, let's see what I say. Well, I said 140 on fuel, 220 on food, so that is 360. Another 110 on accommodations, so 360 is 470, and $8 of miscellaneous. $478 it cost me for a 4-day trip, 1,645 miles. I think that's really, really reasonable if you want to camp. Now again, could have got that down. Probably could have got that down to easily 350. So really it just boils down to, what do you want to do? Do you want to camp? Do you want to hotel it? You know, do you want to drive like a maniac and burn up your fuel, or you want to drive normal and kind of serve some fuel a little bit? And how do you want to eat? Do you want to cook? Do you not want to cook? Do you want to eat fancy? Do you want to just eat fast food? It's all relevant. It's all up to what you can afford. But guys, do your adventures. Don't stop. You know, find a way to get them done. A lot of these adventures really don't cost all that much, especially if you already have the gear and it's already paid for. But even if you don't have the gear, go to Walmart and buy a $20 tent. I mean, $20 tent. You don't have to have the biggest and the best to get started at all. You don't even have to have it ever if you don't want it. Most of my equipment is, as you know, budget-friendly equipment, and really it's budget to mediocre. I really don't have high-end stuff, and if I do have anything that would be considered high-end, I probably bought it used and got a really, really good deal on it, and I'm not ashamed of that at all. But guys, get out there. If you're on a motorcycle, ride that bike. If you're in your truck, your rig, even if you're in your car, go out and car camp. I think I'll do a video on that too one of these days. That'd be kind of cool to do. But hey, until next time, guys, get out, live your life. Later.